let's talk about automatic filtering, because I just archived 21,000 emails and I have no idea what those said. And some of those I do want to keep, some of them I don't want to keep, but I think it's just really important for you to start analyzing your inbox and notice some patterns so that once you identify the patterns, you can teach them to Google, and then Google can automatically sort and filter the things for you, saving you time. Because think about it. Every single time that you look at an email, whether or not it's a useful email, those are seconds that are taken from something that you actually might want to do. So we want to minimize those seconds here and there and collect them and save them, because 100 emails at 10 seconds each, that's a good chunk of time. You could be doing something a lot more worthy than looking at junk mail. So let's keep it moving. I'm going to use the example of building filters for recruiting because that is a key activity for MBA students. And I think that this is really helpful for anybody, in a sense, because there are certain things where, I don't know about you, but I shop at Amazon a lot. And when I was recruiting for jobs and things like that, I wanted to make sure that when I was being reached out by someone from Amazon, I didn't confuse it with the Amazon Kindle notification that I got. Now, let's say that you want to instantly recognize when an employee from one of your target companies is actually emailing you, but you don't want that filter to take into account any kinds of emails from that same company, like for Starbucks gift card notifications, Amazon order confirmations, and Google marketing emails, things like that. I will say that trying to filter out Amazon emails is like a never-ending trek because Amazon has a lot of different email addresses that they email you from, but I will at least teach you the mechanisms for creating these filters so that as you find more emails to filter out, you can repeat this process. So I'm going to first show you how to create a filter because there's a couple of different ways. First, you can use the drop-down search bar. I'm going to show it to you live, but let's talk about it first. You can use the drop-down menu and you can fill out the form and create a filter in real time. So let's move over. I think for me, I want to make a filter for New York Times content. So I'm going to first check and see what kind of email address they use. They usually use from @NewYorkTimes, nytimes.com. And I'll check the New York Times cooking one and see if it's the same thing. All right, so I can see that New York Times usually sends me an email with a suffix of nytimes.com. So what I can do is go to my search bar and actually say asterisk at nytimes.com. And that means pull every single email that comes from an email address ending at nytimes.com. And this is what happens. I'm going to press enter. Look at all those emails. New York Times, you email me a lot. So I am actually going to go and create a filter based on this. So I can use this down bar and say, hey, anything that I'm not going to do has the words. I'm going to say anything from any email address at New York Times goes straight to my read later bucket. And in order to do that, I go to make sure I fill out everything that I want, and I go to create filter. So now it's going to ask you, okay, great. So I know what it looks like when you receive an email from this entity. What do you want me to do with it? Well, I want you to skip the inbox. That's very important. And I want you to apply the label of read later. That is one of my action labels. And that for me, it's like anything that like I might want to read, but I don't need to read it the instant it comes in my mailbox, I put in the read later bucket. And then if I don't read a certain number of those emails after about 2 weeks, then I just remove the label from all of them and delete them because obviously they weren't that useful for me. So I have assigned the label to read later, and I want Google to also apply that filter to anything that matches that. This is critical because this allows you to back categorize all of those emails that you just archived. You archived thousands of emails or hundreds if you're very good. So this applies the label to all of those emails so that you don't have to do all that manually. So I hope you didn't do that manually. So let's create the filter and keep it moving. Boom! Look at all those. I didn't have to do that. I had the machine do it. The machine does it. You're good. All right. So as you kind of notice the kinds of patterns, I'll show you how. I just want you to start thinking about the kinds of useful categories that you'd use or the kinds of emails that require a certain action from you. So if you ever want to go and see all of your archived mail, you can just go to the all mail section. It's usually hidden and tucked in so look on your left-hand side, go to all mail, and here's all of your stuff. So if you want to get really complex with it, you can actually start using something called Boolean Search, and it's a way for you to build a little bit more complex kinds of filters. And I'm going to teach you a little bit more of the language that you can do this yourself. Now, I already introduced you to the asterisk. That means anything, basically. So anything before @starbucks.com is basically every email from an address that ends at @starbucks.com. But if you want to exclude certain ones, you can use the subtract sign, the dash, to say specific ones. So you can say any @starbucks.com minus orders @starbucks.com. And it excludes any emails from orders @starbucks.com. So let's look at it and break it down. Any email at amazon.com includes any email from amazon.com. If you want to exclude certain ones, you're going to want to make sure that you find the email that you want to exclude, and you want to make sure that you're adding that dash or subtraction sign in your formula. This is a sample of one of my searches. It can get pretty complex, and sometimes it's really easy to lose track of the ors or the kinds of signs and things like that. So it's going to take a lot of trial and error. But as you can see, anything from these addresses, and exclude all of these addresses, and you'll make a filter. Once you get something like that together, you can actually copy and paste that into your search bar. And that's going to allow you to create a filter just like I just showed you how to do that. Actually, I'm going to go to all mail and start seeing the kinds of things that I don't really need to see in my life. So it looks like @Costco.com. I don't need to see anything from you. Or think @Anthropology.com. Let's see. Who else emails me? And I'm just like, I need to stop buying things from you. Let's see, probably Emden @Emden.com. Who else? Let's see. Ooh, or Overstock.com. I am just showing all of my business. Ooh, or wayfair.com. Again, you could just unsubscribe from these places, but sometimes I still want to see what they have. Let's see. Or allmodern.com. And looks like for interior, define.com. And what I'm going to do is that sometimes I do buy things from these organizations. So I want to say doesn't have the word confirmation, because I think that I was going to say order, but that might not be as thorough as I want it to be. So I'm going to say confirmation, because typically when you do order something, you get like a order confirmation. And now I'm going to look at the filter and see if I'm happy with what I see. And it looks like I have purchased from a couple of these vendors recently, and it looks like I'm not getting confirmation emails in here. I'm not getting any shipping notifications in here, which is good because I want these all to go straight to my read later. You may notice that I'm focusing a lot on read later, and the reason why I'm doing this is because this is what is going to save you the time. These are the bulks of emails that they're good to have, but they're not the most urgent. So I want to get all of the least urgent emails out of my face. And in this case, I want to get the most distracting and money consuming emails out of my face so that I can actually have control over when I see them. I think that email marketing is brilliant and obviously effective, but this is a way for us to take control over our inboxes so that you can choose when you want to be marketed to, instead of it just coming at you over and over again. So I'm going to create this filter, and then I'm going to tell it to skip and archive. I'm going to go to the read later, and this is actually one where I'm going to also add to take my money, but I think I'm going to do read later first. And then I'm going to actually apply it to everything. So it's going to create that filter. I think I'm also going to automatically make it a take my money filter as well. I really like the color system because it's another way for me to understand the kinds of emails that I'm getting. So if it's a green take my money kind of email, I know how to avert my eyes if I need to. Or if it's like a news email, then I know, that it's a news email, and depending on how I'm feeling, I'll read it or avoid it. So let me create another filter. I think that's the coolest thing, is that you can actually use a lot of different labels for Google products. So I'm going to apply a label. I'm going to make sure that goes back and does it to any email that fits this description. And I'm going to create a filter. And then you're going to see not one, but 2 labels show up. Google's going to think long and hard. Oh, that's because there's a lot of those emails in my inbox. Yes. So you'll see not 1, but 2 labels. So this was a success. This is going to be a process that you're going to have to keep on iterating on. So I have done this for some of the things that have stood out to me. What I do recommend is that you go to your all mail, look at your email from your last 1 week or 2 weeks, and start categorizing those. Again, if they are in your 2 week plus, you don't have to categorize those. Don't do it.